Welcome back. The details. Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli asserted the national dialogue, which is considered a national platform, is receiving greater attention from President Abdel Fattah Sisi. The Prime Minister's remarks came while reviewing the second follow-up report of the executive plan of proposals of the national dialogue until mid-March. Madbouli said the President always gives his directives to translate the outputs and recommendations of the dialogue soon into executive plans on the ground. The Premier also voiced his keenness on reviewing the implementation of recommendations of the National Dialogue, adding that a joint coordination group was activated bringing together representatives of the Cabinet and officials of the National Dialogue to review the fulfillment of these sessions. And to the visit of the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres visited the Egyptian border crossing to renew pleas for a ceasefire. Earlier, the UN Secretary General visited Al Arish in northern Sinai and inspected the injured people in different hospitals there. We have more details in the coming report. Nation Secretary General Antonio Guterres visited the Egyptian Rafah border crossing to renew pleas for a ceasefire. In a press conference, the UN chief said that he has come to Rafah to spotlight the pain of Palestinians in Gaza. He also stressed that it's time now, more than ever, for an immediate humanitarian sustainable ceasefire. He said that blocked relief trucks on Egyptian side of border are a moral outrage. He also stressed that Israel should give total, unfettered access to humanitarian goods throughout Gaza. Guterres also reiterated that the UN will continue to work with Egypt to streamline flow of aid. He added that choice in Gaza is clear, either surge in aid or starvation. Earlier, the UN Secretary General visited early on Saturday Al Arish in northern Sinai, where much of the international relief for Gaza is delivered and stockpiled, and inspected the injured Palestinians inside Al Arish hospital. His trip comes as Israel threatens to launch a major military operation in the southern Gaza city of Rafah, just over the border from Egypt, despite international appeals against such an attack. As hopes for a truce during the Muslim holy month of Ramadan have faded and the humanitarian situation in Gaza has become more desperate, the United States and other countries have sought to use airdrops and ships to deliver more relief. This week, a global food monitor warned that famine was imminent in northern Gaza and could spread to other parts of the territory if a ceasefire is not agreed. Guterres, who made one previous trip to Egypt's border with Gaza shortly after the war broke out, is visiting Egypt and Jordan as part of his annual solidarity trip to Muslim countries during the holy month of Ramadan. This came as on the ground Israeli occupation forces continue its genocide war in Gaza. For the 169th consecutive day, the occupation forces targeted with its raids Palestinian homes in Gaza City and the vicinity of Al-Shifa complex in the city, and also Khan Yunis and Rafah cities and Al-Nusayrat camps in southern and central Gaza Strip. Medical sources said a number of patients at Al-Shifa hospital were martyred during the continuation of the Israeli attacks on it for the 5th consecutive day. Health Ministry in Gaza said that the bombardment left 82 martyrs and 110 injured. It added that the death toll of the Israeli war on Gaza rose to more than 32,070 people, 74,300 injured, mostly women and children. Taking you to the UN Security Council, which turned down a resolution calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza and an Israel-Hamas hostage deal after Russia and China vetoed the measure proposed by the United States. 11 of the 15 council members voted for the resolution, but Russia and China veto stopped its passage. We have more details in the coming report.
The United Nations Security Council turned down a resolution calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza and an Israel-Hamas hostage deal after Russia and China vetoed the measure proposed by the United States. The resolution, on which Algeria also voted no and Guyana abstained, called for an immediate and sustained ceasefire lasting roughly 6 weeks that would protect civilians and allow for the delivery of humanitarian assistance. 11 of the 15 council members vetoed for the resolution, but Russia and China stopped its passage. A diplomat said the council will meet on Monday to vote on an alternative resolution drafted by elected members of the Security Council. That resolution demands an immediate ceasefire for the current Muslim holy month of Ramadan, the release of all hostages, and an expanded flow of humanitarian assistance to Gaza. Friday was the first time Washington had backed a text that came up for a vote with the word ceasefire in it during the war in Gaza. Russia's ambassador to the UN, Vasily Nebenzia, said the US-led resolution was excessively politicized and contained an effective green light for Israel to mount a military operation in Palestine and especially in the city of Rafah. He said a number of non-permanent members of the Security Council had drafted an alternative resolution and said there was no reason for members not to support it. China's UN ambassador Zhang Jun criticized the text proposed by the US for not clearly stating its opposition to a planned military operation by Israel in Rafah, which he said could lead to severe consequences. He said Beijing also supported the alternative. For his part, French President Emmanuel Macron said on Friday that his country would work with Jordan and the United Arab Emirates to persuade Russia and China to back yet another alternative resolution at the United Nations for a ceasefire in Gaza.
Foreign Minister Sameh Shukri received on Saturday a phone call from, Singaporean counterpart Vivian Balakrishnan, who is currently in an official visit to Egypt. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ambassador Ahmed Abu Zaid said Shukri expressed the great Egyptian interest in maximizing Singaporean companies benefiting from the investment opportunity, especially mega projects such as the Suez Canal development access, as well as multi-investment opportunities it contains, including logistical activities and port management. Abu Zaid added that the meeting tackled overall bilateral distinguished relations and touched upon a number of vital files of common concern. Egypt has strongly condemned the shooting incident that took place at a music concert hall near the Russian capital, Moscow, resulting in the loss of many lives and injuries. In a statement released on Saturday, the Foreign Ministry expressed its condolences to the victims as well as profound sorrow over the loss of lives caused by the attack, wishing the injured a speedy recovery.